Hey guys, today I want to talk about the spiritual connection that exists between ourselves and the extraterrestrials and why the extraterrestrials actually have a vested interest in our ascension. And when I say ascension, I'm referring to our spiritual advancement as humanity as a whole. So, if you do some research into the UFO phenomenon, the extraterrestrial phenomenon, you will often find that there is a spiritual undertone to many of the encounters that supposedly have taken place, either in cases of abduction or in supposed interviews that have been conducted between actual extraterrestrials and government officials. I know that this is very extreme for many of you guys to hear, but I do believe that such things are quite possible and even likely. And I do think that we are getting closer and closer to a disclosure from the government regarding many of these things and regarding many of the UFOs that a lot of people have been seeing now for hundreds of years, if not longer. So regarding the spiritual connection between the extraterrestrials and humanity, my belief is that the extraterrestrials are at a much higher state of spiritual evolution. And from a logical standpoint, I believe that this makes sense because hypothetically, if a civilization was at a high enough level of advancement in terms of technology that they were able to travel interstellarly, it's also quite likely, I believe, that their emotional state, their spiritual knowledge, etc., would have also increased quite a bit throughout their evolution. And if you do any research into the extraterrestrial phenomenon, you will often find a spiritual undertone to many of the supposed interactions that have taken place between extraterrestrials and humans. Again, I realize that this is quite extreme, but apparently, apparently there's been, many people who have been abducted, and also supposedly there have been interviews between extraterrestrials and government officials. And it seems that whenever these supposed interactions take place, a lot of the time it appears that the extraterrestrials are trying to convey some of their spiritual knowledge to us. Again, going back to my other video, one of the main things that they try to convey, and often, is that the body is only a vessel to carry our soul from this life into the next, and that death is sort of a human construct. It's sort of an illusion because our consciousness never really dies. That's one thing that the extraterrestrials often try to convey to humanity, and that they want humanity to understand because they realize that there are many forces of division and control here, and those forces are using fear to maintain their grip of control over humanity. And one of the reasons why they're able to do so is because my understanding, if I'm not mistaken, is that for most people, their biggest fear is death. And the powers that be are very aware of this fear. They're very aware of how human beings' psychology works, how their emotional system works. And if they keep people stuck in fear, it's much easier to control them. So the powers that be do not want humanity to know that from a spiritual standpoint, we never die, and that we do continue on into the next realm. Because if human beings really understood that and really internalized it, it would take away tremendous power from the systems of control that exist here on Earth. I don't need to get into specifically what those systems are, but there are many systems in place here that are taking advantage of the emotional systems of us as human beings, and the fact that many of us have a very strong fear of death, and we don't know what's going to happen after death. So it's a lot of questions of uncertainty, And I can totally understand how it's a very scary thing. So anyhow, the extraterrestrials really do want us to know that death is not the end, for various reasons, but it is a key tool in our eventual ascension that will happen sooner or later. The other thing is that the extraterrestrials seem to have a vested interest in the survival of humanity and the survival of Earth itself. There's many reasons for this. One is from the standpoint that everything is connected. Everything in the universe is connected at a quantum level. So, for example, back in the 1940s, when we first started testing nuclear weapons, supposedly the extraterrestrials could see these explosions happening from space because the nuclear explosions are visible from space. They came here and was like, "What's going on? What are these human beings up to?" And they saw that we had created, nuclear weapons, and there are supposed stories of interactions between extraterrestrials and government officials where the extraterrestrials were telling our government, very specifically, and other governments, that we needed to get rid of the nuclear weapons because they knew that nuclear weapons could quite literally destroy the planet. And again, through the research that I've done, it seems that in the 80s and 90s, there were many nuclear weapon silos that were being visited by UFOs. And in many cases, the weapons were disarmed, and even the nuclear weapon head itself became radioactively inept. This is according to military insiders. I cannot prove this information, but this is the information that I've received. And I believe one of the reasons why the extraterrestrials don't want us having nuclear weapons and why they don't want us to blow ourselves up and destroy the planet is because they also have a vested interest not only in the ascension of humanity, but in the preservation of Earth itself. It seems that Earth is a special place in the universe and is quite rare. I do believe that there are other Earth-like planets out there, but they are not very common. And it is quite possible that some of the extraterrestrials who have visited here actually have permanent bases on Earth. From what I've read, seen, heard, supposedly they may have bases under the ocean. They may have bases in Antarctica. They may have bases in very remote places, hidden under mountains, etc. So if that were true, hypothetically, they certainly don't want us to nuke the planet because then part of their bases and their way of life could be disrupted in a very negative way. So I think that it's important for us to see this connection between spirituality and the extraterrestrials, because the extraterrestrials are here to help us, and they're here to help assist in the ascension of humanity. But the first step is we have to believe. We have to believe that the extraterrestrials are real. Number two, we have to believe and accept that they are here for our highest good and to help us ascend to the next level. They are not here to harm us. Because I think in knowing and accepting this truth, it will also allow us to ascend to the next level. But the more that we refuse to believe the truth, whatever that might be pertaining to, the more that we're going to stay stuck at our current level. And I do believe there are many truths that humanity needs to come to accept. The extraterrestrial question is one of those big questions, but there's also many other truths that do need to be accepted by us as a whole in order for us to move on to the next level and to ascend to the next level spiritually and in many other ways. So I will save those stories for another day because I don't want to take up too much of your time. I hope that this video was enjoyable and informative for you guys. If you guys do have any questions, please let me know. Again, as a final disclaimer, obviously the claims that I'm making here are not scientifically proven, but they are based on the information that I've researched through books, videos, documentaries, and again, through the intuitive knowledge that I believe has been shared with me from a higher source. And the nature of that source, I am not certain of, but I do believe that I've simply received this information. This is not information that I've created or somehow formed on my own. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you do have any questions, please let me know in the comments section. And I hope to have more videos for you guys in the near future. Hope everybody has a good day.